Previously on X-Men.
House of X issue number 7. This continues the event we all fell in love with. It makes the other X books feel less than. Mystique is actually, fan theory confirmed, she actually planted a Krakoan seed up in space. And right before she died, when she saw Dr. Gregor and the Omega Sentinel, she did that mission. That's why she was telling Scott, hey, hold your horses. I'll be there. I'm in position. No, I'm not. Because of that, she died. Her backup memory isn't up to date. However, I remember during the mission, Charles had a psychic communication link with everybody at the time. I think he could have filled her in on how the mission would have went. Maybe that's a flaw in the comic. But the beginning of the comic is going to be a conversation with Destiny and Mystique. They're up looking up against the horizon, and Mystique is gonna say, Destiny's gonna say, listen, there's gonna be an island. But just to be specific, just so this isn't a retcon, it's not the first island or the second island. It'll be the last island, and it'll be the one where people are gonna try to come back to each other. Okay, so we ruled out Genosha, we ruled out Utopia. It's the one where you can bring people back. That explains why I never saw Mystique on Genosha or on Utopia asking, let's get Destiny back, let's get Destiny back. Good job, Hickman. However, the Moira X retcon still is there. You can't explain that one. How Moira McTaggart, throughout all the history of all, like, that's the one big thing problem I have with these guys. Moira apparently was a mutant the whole time. We've had thought clouds coming out of her brain that's contradict that she's a mutant doing this side hustle, or that conversation that took place on that park bench even took place. Telling you, and I'm telling Hickman, and I'm telling anyone who will listen, they should say that there is like a timer that Professor X put in his clock, in his head, and it said 10 years from now I'll remember this conversation. But it's imperative, it's really important that we pretend like we don't know that we lose every single time, when we pretend we don't know that Moira is mutant, so that things can go along. Because if we were to know, then the events of history would be skewed too far, and things won't be how they are supposed to be. There was background noise and stopped now. This moment here, where there's a scientist speaking to Gregor, speaking to Omega Sentinel, actually was a Mystique. Now, I criticized the Birds of Prey movie for doing this, and I'm not going to spoil anything, but there was a point in the movie where Harley Quinn says, stop, you're probably wondering how we got here. And then they rewinded and they told other characters aspects of the story, and then they caught up to speed where Harley said, stop. Side rant. They're changing the name of the movie to Harley Quinn, Birds of Prey. I'm looking at it like, duh, how could you not do that? You made so much money off Suicide Squad. She's such a successful character. Why bank on an unknown again? Why do the Guardians of the Galaxy again? The first time they did Guardians of the Galaxy, it was a risk, and thankfully they made money with it. But that's like them making their second movie called Ego versus Peter. What? No. So Harley Quinn Birds of Prey is the way it should have always been, especially because it was a Harley Quinn movie. However, what's best about this is now, once I realize that it was actually Mystique the whole time, and I have to stop and we revisit these panels, I can see it from a different light. And now, with my focus on another character, it enhances it. This 20-page comic became a 22-page comic, just to read those 2 pages over again. And I prefer this than Birds of Prey, which I thought was a cheap way of making it seem like you were enlightening me, the audience. I didn't like the artwork here at all. It's too simple for someone, for the X book, for the top book the top book sales wise, the top book. When she does die, there's the image of her getting sucked into the vacuum of space. When Mystique does finally return from her death, there's this cool moment where you can see her with her normal body, but that arm is actually blue. That's the best part of the artwork, this whole comic book. So she plants the seed. She's asking for Destiny to come back, and at this point of the comic, we don't know that she knows that we shouldn't know. All Destiny knows is that I am not going to be able to return. I don't know why. Good, you shouldn't know why. It's because we lose every single time, but she just knows and foresees that. I'm gonna guess that Destiny will return from this comic and will return and actually be back. I It would only make sense. It's just an interesting thing to happen. So why withhold it? How will Mystique be able to do it though? Maybe impersonate Chuck and go to the Five Lights and say, "Hey, let's fast track Destiny any minute now." And what are they gonna say? No, unless they were given orders not to resurrect Destiny, right? But that's what makes things interesting. So the main thing is the Nimrod Sentinel might still come back. So that's the scary part of it. Good. Stakes are back. I don't feel like the mission that they did in issue number 4 and 5, in issue 3 and 4, was in vain and was for nothing. Because we got to see them return from the dead, and it was the first time. We got what else happened in that mission? There was that epic line where it's actually revisited here, where Jean and Wolverine were talking and saying these are just men, scientists. They're not actually soldiers. And Wolverine shut her up, like, yo, something about World War II, something about they're just as guilty as the people shooting. And now when Destiny or Mystique is asked, hey, why didn't you kill everybody there? Why don't you stop it? She's like, yo, there's that rule, kill no man. I flipped my lid when she said that. No, that rule does not apply over here, man. We taking that thing a little bit too seriously. But she's got to, in her brain, she's got to hold them hostage or have some sort of ransom above the head of Professor X and Magneto. And that's going to cost us. That's going to cost the mutants. This didn't have much to do with Children of the Atom. Children of the Vault, excuse me. Children of the Atom has nothing to do with X-Men. I decided not to read that one because, like, what's the point of coming in here and spewing hatred about something I know I'm going to dislike? Everything deserves a chance, but I'm, like, not going to read that one. Hellions Cable, maybe, but not that one. The final page is, and if you cannot, if they will not, then burn that place to the ground. It's not looking good. I kind of wish we had the come up documented. The come up for these guys was issue number 6 of House of X. We kind of just celebrated that we got our own Mutant Nation. Man, we don't get enough good stories because it's just been a heartache since that moment. I'm happy these guys founded their own thing, but that was a 12-week event, and now we're back to the disasters. Comic book storytellers need to actually milk the rise, the shine, the happiness. These are my notes to make sure I didn't forget something when I spoke to you guys right now. Yeah, there was a credible excuse Charles made about how he couldn't trust them, how he couldn't trust Mystique. Okay, yeah, history. But keep that same energy for Sabretooth. History of Sabretooth would have told you that he was going to do some casualties in issue number 1 of House of X. Yeah, I touched on everything unless I forgot to. But Orchis is resurrected. Orchis is back and they're better than ever. They've got a knack for making things better. Let's face the facts, because Charles' opinion doesn't matter. This maniac, Dr. Gregor, is going to come for whoever. Eric Bischoff.